Hello, it's Judy from Itchy Palms Gardens in Central Victoria. Thanks for joining me today. We'll be having a bit of a walk around the garden, but first I thought I'd show you something else I've been doing inside. It'll only take a second. It's actually a painting. When I'm not gardening, I like to paint. And this is a painting of a pair of koalas up in the tree. It's not really a pair, it's a mother and a baby, sniffing the gum leaves and enjoying the day. I hope you enjoy your day with me today. I don't know about you, but the first signs of spring here are always really exciting. We have long frosty winters here at Itchy Palms Gardens. Vines like the honeysuckle have been really dormant through the winter, and it's so exciting when you see the red shoots coming on them. The first few years we lived here, if it wasn't the hot, dry summers that killed half of our plants, it was the frosty winters. We've pruned this olive tree into a cloud tree. It hasn't quite woken up, but I'm really excited for it to thicken up as spring goes on. Although it's good to have tough plants in the big garden, it's always a bonus when they actually flower. This native Australian pigface flowers spasmodically throughout the year, but in spring it puts on a really nice show. We get frost till about the second week in November here, so some of the succulents are still covered up with white cloth to prevent them from getting damaged. For all you viewers on the other side of the equator in the northern hemisphere, that's late spring, so we do get frost till late into the season. The white flowery border of snowdrops around the outside will die off soon, but then the lavender will come up and flower, and also the agapanthus around the edge, and the occasional sedum. I'm always trying to diversify so we get flowers at different times of the year, not all at once. A few years ago I visited my sister Bronwyn, and she had the most beautiful forest lilies. They were really mesmerising with their shiny glossy leaves and their beautiful pink flowers. I was lucky enough to get some bulblets that came from the flowers that she had on her forest lilies. You just have to keep an eye out for the snails because they love the leaves. So these have all grown from bulblets. I've had them a few years under the back veranda in self-watering pots. In nature, they'd be on the bottom of the forest floor underneath all the trees in dappled sunlight. Some parts of the year they are dormant, but they make up for it in springtime. What do you think? Thanks again, Bronwyn. We also have quite a lot of paintbrush lilies. They like it on the drier side when they're dormant. They're on the edges of our veranda, so they get more sun. The sun helps them to flower in the autumn. I love the leaves this time of year though. They're big and lush like big ox tongues. Beautiful, and the flowers come out the centre later on in the autumn. I think the leaves are nearly as showy as the flowers, but they'll dry up soon and go dormant over the summer months. I'm very excited at the moment because I have a fritalia that's actually alive and flowering, and I've actually let it live for a few years. Usually they're not long for this world in this climate. At Itchy Palms Gardens we have about 9 claret ash trees, and through the summer they're lovely shady canopies. They colour up beautifully in the autumn and give me lots of mulch, but over the winter they're very skeletal. I suppose it's nice to let the sun shine through for all the winter bulbs that come up, but it's lovely to see the leaves actually starting to shoot on them again. Very exciting. About a month ago the bees were very busy around these trees when they were flowering, but they've moved on to other plants now. Over the years I've planted a lot of wisterias in the garden, but most of them except the tough old common wisteria have died. Even if they've managed to last the hot summers, the frost often knocks them right back in the winter. But this one in particular, is a standard wisteria, and it's wrapped around a very sturdy post, and it's nearly ready to flower. Very excited because it will be a picture, but it is only pale blue when it flowers. Not that there's anything wrong with that. It'll still be lovely. I grew this one from a piece, and it's nice to see it evolving into a proper standard. This golden japonica is a common plant too, but it's really nice to see it getting new leaves in the centre. I would recommend loquat trees to anybody who lives in this climate. They're a tough and a hardy tree. We've grown most of these loquat trees from seeds. From my experience, the seed-grown loquats don't seem to sucker as much, and it just takes a little bit longer to get the fruit. When they do fruit, there's plenty to go around, and the animals and bats like the spoils as well. It wouldn't be spring without tulips. I do have one pot of tulips here, and they seem to be surviving each year. I've had this pot for about 5 years, and I do like showing them off. They're definitely a nice cheery sign of spring. This viburnum's been flowering since midwinter, and it's very pretty. I'll hedge it off soon. It's a hedge around our oriental garden. This hedge is about 20 metres long and goes in roughly a round circle, and it's all been grown from cuttings. This is our bird bath in De Beers. It's a bird bath without being a bird bath. These trellised burgundy gladisias have been planted along Penny Lane, and at the end I've got a tacoma that will be flowering beautifully in the summer. But this is what it looks like now. And in the summer, it will look like this. Something to look forward to. A neighbour gave us some mulch once, and this is what grew from the mulch. They're prunices, and they're just self-seeded, and they're all a little bit different, and some of them are quite spiky. But the flowers are very pretty, and the leaves are a lovely dark red colour. They're all a little bit different because they were seed grown, but the blossoms are still really pretty. Little surprise packages. We have 3 weeping mulberries in our gold garden, and they're coming up to leaf. They've been very bare all winter, but because they're weeping ones, they're very structural, and I quite like the look of them in the winter when they have no leaves. But they'll be nice and shady and showy through the summer as the leaves grow. They'll be like big living umbrellas casting shade over the other plants in the gold garden through the summer. And when the open garden comes in December, they'll be absolutely gorgeous, a real feature. I hope to see you there. Most Decembers we have an open garden. Look out for dates on Facebook, Instagram, or on our website. All the information you need to know is in the description below. This is a self-watering pot I made from an old pool pump a few episodes ago, and this is the periwinkle growing out of it. It seems to be going along really well, and I'm hoping it will cover the whole pot soon so you won't see it. I was very excited this morning when I came out and saw the leaves shooting on this smoke bush. It is really a picture when it's covered in burgundy leaves a little later in the year. It's hard to imagine how beautiful it will look later, but the burgundy leaves look lovely against the green backdrop. You can see here in the cemetery garden, even the tough old invasive periwinkle has got quite yellowed leaves from the frosty winter, but at least now it's starting to flower. The fluffy white buds of the Celtic cascade are starting to develop on this standard. One of the most exciting things for me when spring comes is watching the buds on the peony roses start to develop. These are tree peonies, but some of the herbaceous peonies are still just coming out of the ground. They'll be beautiful. This is one of last year's blooms. Definitely something to look forward to. The roses are even starting to develop little burgundy shoots and rosebuds. This is a Lorraine Lee rose that usually flowers fairly early and has pretty pink flowers. It's trained over an archway on the entrance to Strawberry Fields. The fresh red tips of these standard and hybrid tea roses really make me feel excited about what's to come. They're located in a garden that we've named Trabenweg. The name's a long story, but I do have a YouTube video dedicated to Trabenweg. This peculiar bud is a flower bud from a pistachio nut tree. You need both male and female trees to get fruit. The males fertilise the flowers and the females produce the fruit. They're very interesting and I really do like pistachio nuts. And this is the leaf bud of a pistachio nut tree. These are crepe myrtle buds that are fattening up on the tree. They'll burst into life in the next couple of days. These furry little buds are buds off the Paulownia tree. They have lovely purple trumpet flowers later on in the spring. Even the grapevines are sprouting. We have 8 mop-top gladisias on the property. We brutally prune them back every year to keep them in check so that the strong winds don't blow them over. Seeing them shoot after the long winter makes you really feel good, and in a couple of weeks they'll be covered in a lovely green canopy. The bay trees are moving too. They're coming into flower. I love the aroma of the leaves and the taste in our cooking. And our box hedge parterre is coming up too to shoot. Lots of little green tips on it. Looks very pretty, and I'll probably have to get the shears out soon just to reshape it a little bit. At the moment, the Tritilia spring stars are flowering profusely everywhere, but they have been flowering for quite a while, and there's the late jonquil. The lawns don't grow much here in the winter at all, and seeing this little burst of growth on the lawn is a sure sign of spring. The young leaves of the willow trees are developing nicely too. I'll never forget what my mother always told me. She said the willows are always the last trees here to lose their leaves in the winter, and the first trees to get their leaves in the spring. Plants hold very special memories for me, and that's why I like gardening so much. They always remind me of people I've met, places I've been, and things I've done. I can't wait to show you what's been happening next time at Itchy Palms Gardens.